Islam, shalom, hola, aloha, bonjour, osio, assalamu alaikum. It's your brother Zach Bay, Indigenous American Moor, coming to you live in full effect. Like, share, subscribe to my channel, hit that notification bell down below so you can be notified whenever I'm dropping some new content. Leave a comment, interact with me. Thank you, I really do appreciate your viewership. Let's jump into another one. Black's Law Dictionary. More definitions, jumping back into it. Hopefully everything's legible and you can see. You can pause the video and read at your own pace as you like. All right, I want to start off with this one. Conspiracy. You already know what it is. We're hearing a lot about these conspiracy theories of late, right? But in law, what they say conspiracy is, in criminal law, a combination or confederacy between two or more persons. Remember that word persons can be artificial or natural, formed for the purpose of committing by their joint efforts some unlawful or criminal act, or some act which is innocent in itself but becomes unlawful when done by the concerted actions of the conspirators, or for the purpose of using criminal or unlawful means to the commission of an act not in itself unlawful. All right, so people getting together and making plans to do something that in itself is not criminal or unlawful, but the plans that they're making will indeed, whatever plans that they're making and the actions on those plans will indeed make it criminal and a conspiracy. All right, it's always two or more. Conspiracy can also be linked to racketeering. All right, so when you hear about these RICO charges, these RICO cases that they've been using for these alleged gang members of late, local rappers and things of that nature, right? Conspiracy is a part of racketeering and RICO, and they first created those cases to take down mobsters and gangsters like Al Capone, because they couldn't touch them in any other kind of way. So they created the racketeering class of cases, which links criminal organizations and enterprises through different means and conspiracies, right? Making plans. Let's move along. Hopefully you got that. Conspirators, persons guilty of a conspiracy where two or more persons enter on a common enterprise or adventure and criminal offense is contemplated. Each is a conspirator, right? All right, hopefully you get that. Constable, I thought this one was all right. Constable, all right, similar to like a sheriff. All right, they have like legal authority, kind of like a locally elected peace officer. All right, that's what constable is. But in law, in American law, an officer of a municipal corporation, all right, usually elected, like I said, whose duties are similar to those of a sheriff. All right, so constables can be elected within like towns or even communities, right? People can get together and elect a constable for even a neighborhood or a district or something like that. All right, it's completely like common law. All right, duties are similar to those of a sheriff, though his powers are less and his jurisdiction is smaller. All right, he is to preserve the public peace. All right, a peace officer, execute the process of a magistrate, courts, and of some other tribunals, serve writs and attend sessions of the criminal courts, have the custody of juries, and discharge other functions sometimes assigned to him by the local law or by statute. All right, hopefully you got that. All right, this one next. Constitution, pretty simple, right? The organic and fundamental law of a nation or state. All right. Each state of the Union has its own constitution. All so-called 50 states or territories, each one has its own constitution, fam. And also along with the constitution for the nation, all right? The United States Constitution, which binds them all together, all right? The organic and fundamental laws of a nation or state, which may be written or unwritten. All right. So a constitution does not necessarily have to be written. It says here it can be unwritten, establishing the character and conceptions of the government, laying the basic principles to which the internal life of is to be conformed and organized, the government. The regulating, distributing, and limiting the functions of its different departments, and describing the extent and manners of the exercise of sovereign powers. A charter of government deriving its whole authority from the governed. All right, those who consent to be governed. That's where it gets its power from. Let's continue to move along here. Constitutional. I want to read this part here. There's a lot of good constitutional stuff here. Remember, you can pause the video if you like, and hopefully everything is legible. Constitutional. Consistent with the Constitution, authorized by the Constitution, not conflicting with any provision of the Constitution or fundamental law of the state, dependent upon a constitution or secured or regulated by a constitution as constitutional monarchy, constitutional rights. All right, so constitutional law. I want to read this part. There's several areas here, 1 and 2. I want to do 3. A constitutional law is one which is consonant to and agrees with the Constitution, one which is not in violation of any provision of the Constitution of the particular state. Constitutional liberty or freedom. All right, check this out. Such freedom as is enjoyed by the citizens of a country or state under the protection of its Constitution. The aggregate of those personal, civil, and political rights of the individual which are guaranteed by the Constitution and secured against invasion by the government or any of its agencies. All right. That last part is very important. All right. Invasion by the government or any of its agencies, constitutional liberties and freedoms, just like constitutional rights. A right guaranteed to the citizens or nationals by the Constitution, and so guaranteed as to prevent legislative interference therewith. All right, so no other laws can be created afterwards to conflict with the Constitution. That's the whole basic of constitutional law. It's the foundation. All right, the foundation can't be changed, shifted, or altered, fam. Otherwise, they'll just start layering different things on top and calling them amendments and then taking our rights away slowly. We have to be very, very important. I believe it was Benjamin Franklin who said, we have a free democracy if we can keep it. All right, I may have misquoted that, but I believe that's how the quote goes. All right, moving along. Identity. There's been a lot about these digital IDs, so I wanted to read this part. In the law of evidence, sameness, the fact that a subject, subject can be artificial or natural, person or thing before a court is the same, the same as it is represented, claimed, or charged to be. All right, you see how it's 3 different layers? The same as it is represented, claimed, and charged. It's very, very important. Identification, proof of identity, the proving that a person, subject, or article before the court is the very same that he or it is alleged, charged, or reputed to be. All right. See how that is right there? Hopefully you get that. Last but not least, ignorance. Exactly. What is ignorance when it comes to law? The want or absence of knowledge. That's ignorance. All right. Ignorance is not a state of the mind in the sense which sanity or insanity are. When the mind is ignorant of a fact, its condition still remains sound. The power of thinking, of judging, of willing is just as complete before communication of the fact as after. The essence or context. So to speak of the mind is not as in the case of insanity, affected or impaired. Ignorance of a particular fact consists in this, that the mind, although sound and capable of healthy action, has never acted upon the fact in question, because the subject has never been brought to the notice of the perceptive faculties. All right. So that's ignorance, fam. That's what Black's Law says about ignorance. Hopefully everything's legible. Hopefully you're getting some information and some knowledge. Once again, this is your brother Zach Bay, Indigenous American Moor. Let me know how I'm doing down below. Like, share, subscribe. Peace.